Hello guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Chika, and in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to draft a shoulder dart pattern. If this is something you love to learn how to make, keep watching to the end of this video. Leave a like if you find it very helpful. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you can get notified whenever I upload new tutorials like this. Connect with me directly on Instagram by clicking the link in my bio, and let's get started. So for this, the measurement you're going to be needing is going to be your shoulder measurement. First of all, you're going to be needing your bust measurement, your bust circumference. You'll also be needing your bust point, which is your shoulder to where you have your nipple. Okay, then you measure your shoulder to your under bust, and also measure around your under bust, which is your under bust circumference. Then you measure your shoulder to your waist. Okay, then you measure around your waist circumference. You'll also be measuring your nipple to your nipple measurement. Your nipple to nipple measurements is just the distance between your nipple, okay, your two nipples. Okay, so to do this, first off, we want to go ahead and draw a straight line, and this line is going to be our shoulder line. Okay, so after I've drawn this line, the next thing I want to do will be to mark out my round neck measurement. For my round neck measurements, just for reference, okay, I'm just going to be using in the round neckline. So I'm going to be going out by 3 inches, and I'll be coming down by 3 inches. So this is always modified depending on the kind of neckline you want. I'm just going to be using this for a guide. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and mark out my neckline like this. So the next thing I want to do will be to divide my shoulder measurement by 2, and I'll be marking it on this line. This line is our shoulder line. So my shoulder measurement is 16, and 16 divided by 2 gives me 8. So you go ahead and do yours to your own measurement. So just divide your measurements by 2. So I've left that mark there. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do will be to come down here by 1 inch to create my shoulder slope. Okay, now once I've done this, I'm going to go ahead and connect the way upward. Okay guys, so from here now, you want to go ahead and mark out your armhole line. So for my armhole line, to get that, you can either measure around your armhole, okay, and divide that by 2, or you can divide your bust measurements by 6. When you divide your bust measurement by 6, you add 1.5 inches to it, and that's how you get your armhole line. So for mine, I'm going to be using 7.6 because that's my own. So just go ahead and do your own math. So now I'm just going to draw a straight line at this point, and this is my armhole line. The next line I want to mark out is going to be my bust line, which is my shoulder to where I have my nipple. I have that at 11 inches. I'll go ahead and leave a mark at 11 inches. Then I'll also be extending this line. Okay, so now this is my bust line. Next thing you want to mark out is your under bust line. For your under bust line, that is your shoulder to your under bust. Okay, my shoulder to my under bust is 14 inches. Okay, so I'm going to leave a mark at 14 inches. Then I'll go ahead and extend this line, under bust line. Next one you're going to mark out is going to be your waist measurement. Okay, so for my waist is at 16.5 inches. So this is 16.5 inches. I'll go ahead and draw a straight line at that point. So I'm just going to be adding extra 1.5 inches allowance to this. Okay, I add 1.5 inches allowance to this pattern that we are drafting. So now let me go ahead and label this. I'm going to label this one my armhole line. I'll label this one my bust line. This one is my under bust. This is my waistline. And then this is just allowance. Stitching allowance. Okay, so once I have this now, I'm going to go ahead and take my nipple to nipple measurements, and I'll be dividing my nipple to nipple measurements by 2. Okay, so my nipple to nipple measurement is 8 inches. I'm going to be dividing 8 inches by 2, and that gives me 4 inches. So I'll leave a mark here on the bust line. I'll leave that 4 inches mark on the bust line. Okay, after dividing your nipple to nipple measurement by 2, you're going to mark it out on your bust line. All right, I'm also going to go ahead and mark it out on my under bust line. I'll mark it out on my waistline and on my allowance. So what I want to go ahead to do now is to draw a straight line upward like this. Okay, so once I draw this line upward like this, next thing I want to do is that on my under bust line, okay, on my under bust line, from this part here, I'm going to come in by half of an inch. So this is half of an inch. Half of an inch. I'll mark half of an inch all the way downward. So from this under bust line, I'm going to draw a straight line downward like this. So you're going to be doing this just on this part of your pattern paper. Okay, then what I want to go ahead to do now is use my curved part of my pattern master. You can also use your free hand to connect this. I'm going to be using my curved part of my pattern master to give it a neater look. So I want to go ahead now and create a curve to meet my bust line. Okay, so now this is the curve I have here. All right, so on this side now, I'm going to go ahead and go out by 1.5 inches. That's from this line that you created, this 4 inches line. You're going to be marking the 1.5 inches this way. So let me just bend my tape this way so that it's not confusing. Okay, so the 1.5 inches is on this line, and the 1.5 inches is on the under bust line. So I'm also going to go ahead and extend this line. So on most people, you may want to use 2 inches. That if the person is a little bit busty. Okay, but I'm not very busty. That's why I'm just using 1.5 inches. Okay, so that the grip will just be perfect for me. Now what I'm going to go ahead to do now is to use the curved part of my ruler again. I'll be placing it this way. All right, and then I'll be forming another curve. Okay, so once you have this, I'm just going to pause here on this side. So on my shoulder line, this is a shoulder dart. So on my shoulder line, where I have my shoulder slope now, I'm going to go ahead and measure from here to here. So this is why we marked out our neckline, because it's going to be a reference. So from here to here now, I'm going to go ahead and measure that. And what I have is 5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and divide 5 inches by 2, and that gives me 2.5 inches. That's 2.5. I'll leave a mark at 2.5 inches. So from this 2.5 inches point, you want to go ahead and connect this line all the way to this one using your ruler. Okay, so I'm just going to do this like this. All right, so this is what I have. I'll just go ahead and smoothen this out. All right, so after connecting this upward, next I want to do is to take my dart on this point. So for my dart on this point, I'm just going to be using 2 inches. So from this line now that I've marked here, I'll go ahead and mark 2 inches like this. Okay, I'll go ahead and leave a mark at 2 inches right here. So now this mark that I've left here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect it, this one, I'm going to connect it all the way down to this point, still using my ruler. Okay, so you just go ahead and connect it this way. So basically I'm just finding out the edges at this point. Okay, so once I've created this dart here now, this is all for this part. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do will be to replace the dart which I have taken here. Since I've taken out 2 inches from this point, if I want to sew this shoulder now, it's going to be completely short. Okay, so my shoulder measurement is 16. I divided 16 by 2, and that's the 8 inches I marked on this line. So from here now, you can see that what I have here is 5.5 inches. Okay, since I have 5.5 inches here, I'll just go ahead and complete it here like this. Okay, I'll turn my tape this way. I'll place 5.5 on this line like this, and I'll go ahead and mark out that 8 inches here. So by this now, I have replaced my dart. Okay, I have replaced the dart that I took. Please mind you that I have not added any sewing allowance to this point. So if you're actually marking out this pattern to sew, you have to go ahead and add allowance when cutting your main fabric. Okay, so now I have gone ahead to replace that shoulder measurement. So from this point now, you want to go ahead and create your armhole curve. Okay, I'll draw a straight line now down to meet my armhole line. And once I've made that line now to meet my armhole line, I'm just going to leave that for a second. Okay, the next thing I want to do will be to divide my bust measurements by 4, and we're marking that on my bust line. So for my bust circumference is 37. I'm going to be dividing 37 by 4, and 37 by 4 gives me 9.25. Gives me 9.25. So I'll go ahead and mark 9.25 on my bust line. Alright, so then I'm going to add extra 1.5 inches allowance. Rather, I'm going to add 2 inches allowance to this. Okay, after dividing my bust measuring by 4, I'm just adding 2 inches allowance to this pattern. But please note that this is not enough for sewing. This is just a pattern. Okay, so for the under bust now, I'll also divide my under bust measurement by 4 and divide my waist measurement by 4. So basically my under bust and my waist measurement is the same thing. So I'm just going to divide that at once by 4, and that gives me 15.25 inches because my waist is 31. Okay, so sorry, that gives me 7.25 inches. That's 31 divided by 4 gives me 7.25 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark that on my waist. I'll mark that on my under bust too. So once I have this now, first things first, I'm going to replace the dart that I have taken here. So the dart altogether that I have here is 2 inches. I'll go ahead and replace that 2 inches here. I'll go ahead and replace that 2 inches here. Then I'll add the extra sewing allowance to it. Okay, once I add the extra sewing allowance to it, I'm going to go ahead and connect with a straight line. Alright, so now I'm just going to extend this upward like this. This line is a bit crooked. Sorry guys, this line is a bit crooked. So you want to go ahead and extend it upward like this. Alright, so after I've done that, on this armhole line, this point that I've drawn from here to here, I want to go ahead and divide what I have here by 2. So what I have here is 7.25. So I'm going to divide 7.25 by 2. I'll leave a mark there. So from this point now, I'm going to come in by half of an inch. Alright, so I'm coming by half of an inch like this. Then I'm going to use my ruler now to connect, to create my shoulder curve. Okay, sorry, my armhole curve. First of all, I'll connect like this. When I've connected like this, I'll go ahead and connect like this to meet my bust line. So now this is basically what I have. Alright, so this is what you have for the front pan of your bust dart. I'll go ahead and cut this out. Now this is what I have for the front part of my shoulder dart. Okay, so let me go ahead and cut the back part. So for the back part of your shoulder dart, it will carry a zipper allowance, and that zipper allowance I'm just going to be using 2 inches for the purpose of this tutorial. I'm going to be using 2 inches for that zipper allowance. I'll go ahead and mark this 2 inches all the way down. Then I'll connect the lines. Alright, so I'll label this zip. So first things first, I want to go ahead and mark out my neckline. Okay, like I said, the neckline is a guide. So for my neckline now, I'm going out by, let me draw a straight line here so we can have a final look at the shoulder. Okay, so this is going to be our starting point. So from my shoulder line here, I'm going to go ahead and mark out my neckline. I'm just going to be taking 3 inches because that's what I took on the front, and to go down I'm going to be using half of what I use on the front, which is 1.5. Okay, 1.5. I'll go ahead and connect these. So the next thing I want to do is to create my shoulder slope. I'm going to divide my shoulder measurement by 2. 16 divided by 2, that gives me 8 inches. Please note that I am marking 8 inches from this point. Let me just go ahead and turn my tape like this so you understand that I'm taking the measurements from this point. Okay, so I'm marking 8 inches here. From this 8 inches point, I'm coming down by 1 inch, and then I'm connecting the way upward like this. With this, I have created my shoulder slope. I want to go ahead and mark out my armhole line, my bust line, my waistline, my underbust line. Okay, underbust is not really needed at the back though, so you just go ahead and mark out your bust line and your waistline as well as your armhole line. Let me go ahead and do that right now. Alright guys, so I'm also going to use my nipple to nipple measurements for the purpose of this dart. So that divided by 2 gives me 4. I'm going to go ahead and mark 4 inches on the waistline. Okay, and I'm going to connect this 4 inches upward like this. I'll stop somewhere around here. So after that, I'm just going to go ahead and divide my shoulder measurement again by 2. Okay, so my shoulder measurement, that's what I have from here to here. Okay, it's 5 again. I'm going to divide it by 2. That gives me 2.5. So at this 2.5 mark now, I'm going to go ahead and extend this line, and I'll try my best to connect this point to this point like this. Okay, so now what I want to go ahead to do now would be to go out on half an inch on this waistline and half on both sides. Okay, just to create that. And from this point now, I'm connecting the way upward like this, and I'm connecting the way upward like this. Alright, then I'm also going to go ahead and go out on half an inch on both sides of my shoulder, and then I'm going to connect upward like this, and then I'm connecting upward like this. Alright guys, so now with this I have created a dart. Okay, so guys, now I'm going to go ahead and replace this dart on my shoulder line. So this dart now will not be 1 inch because I went out on half an inch on both sides. So since this is my original line, I'll go ahead and replace that 1 inch here. Okay, so from that 1 inch point, I'm going ahead to measure the way, to stroke the way down. I'm extending this line all the way down. Okay, so now what I want to do would be to take my bust measurements, my waist measurements, divide it by 4 and mark what I have. Okay, plus extra 2 inches allowance. I'll do the same thing to the waist. I'm going to replace the dart at the waist first of all, and then I'll now add my allowance. So now I'm going to go ahead and connect the lines upward. And again, I'm going to divide what I have here into 2. Whatever I have here, I'm dividing it into 2. I'm coming out by half an inch like this, and then I'm using my ruler to connect to create my shoulder, my armhole curve. Alright guys, so now this is what I have for my back piece. Once you join this together, now you have a pretty fitted dart at your back too. Okay, so now there are 2 ways of making your back dart. So this is the first way that I know. I'm going to show you the second way of making the shoulder dart at the back. I know 2 different ways of making my shoulder dart at the back. So this is the second way if you don't want your dart to come up the way to your shoulder. So you're still going to go ahead and mark out your zipper allowance. Then I'm going to go ahead and connect these lines. So next thing I want to do will just be to draw a straight line here too, just to indicate that this is my shoulder line. Then I'm going to go out by 3 inches on the neckline, come down by 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to create that neckline. After I've created that neckline, I want to go ahead and divide my shoulder measurement by 2. That gives me 8 inches. I'm leaving a mark at 8 inches. At 8 inches, I'm coming down by 1 inch. Then I'm creating my shoulder slope. So I'll go ahead now and mark my armhole line. I'll go ahead and mark my bust line. I'll go ahead and mark my under bust line. I'll go ahead and mark my waistline and my allowance. Okay, so I'll go ahead and extend these lines like this, like this, 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 and this. Okay, so once I have this, this is my arm. This is my arm. This is my bust. This is my under bust. This is my waist, and this is my allowance. Okay, this is for my zip. So once I have this, I want to go ahead and create my armhole curve. I'll do this. First of all, divide what I have here by 2, come in by half of an inch, go ahead and connect like this upward. Okay, so then I'm going to take my bust measurement. I'll be dividing my bust measurement by 4. I'll mark that on my armhole line and on my bust line. Okay, I'll mark that on my armhole line, mark that on my bust line, add the extra 2 inches allowance. Don't forget, I'll add the extra 2 inches allowance. Then for my under bust line on my waistline, I'll go ahead and do the same thing. Okay, I'll divide my measurement there by 4. I'll leave a mark there, and I'll leave a mark there too. Alright, so these are the marks that I've left. So first of all, let me just complete my armhole curve. I'll complete it like this. Okay, now I've completed my armhole curve. I'll connect to my bust line, and then what I want to do here now is to create the second dart. So the second type of dart is just normal. Okay, so I'm going now by 4 inches on this waistline, and then I'm going up by 4 inches on this under bust line. So from this under bust line, I'll come up by 2.5 inches. Okay, so I'm still going to mark that point at 4 inches. I'll go ahead and connect this upward like this. Next thing you want to do is to go out on half of an inch on both sides, and then you want to connect the way upward like this. Okay, so once I have this, I've gone ahead to create my dart now. So this is the second type of dart. So basically, just like we normally do, you're going to replace the dart you have taken. you're going to replace the dart you have taken, and then you're going to add your extra sewing allowance. So once I add my extra sewing allowance, I'll go ahead and connect the way upward. So this is basically the second type of back that I know for the shoulder dart. So I'll go ahead and cut this out. Alright guys, so this is what I have. I'll go ahead and notch the zip. I'll notch the zip area. Okay, so this dart, there's no need to cut it out. Instead, when you are sewing your clothes, you're going to just go ahead and attach the dart there. So this is the second type of dart I know for the back side, and this is the first type I know for the back side. Then this is my front dart. Alright guys, I really do hope that you found this tutorial very helpful. If you did, please leave a like for me. Tell me what you think about it in the comment section. If you have any questions, you can also drop it there. Subscribe to this channel so you can get notified whenever I post a new video. Alright, and I'll be sure to see you in my next tutorial. Bye guys, till next time.